Music brings us together, even when we're apart. That's why we support Canadian musicians, festivals, and award shows. It's just one of the ways TD's Ready commitment helps build a more inclusive tomorrow.
Sorrow, how I can see the moonlight when you fly low. How I can see the blues of the world in your eyes. I cannot wait to lift the weight off your shoulders. I cannot wait to see your smile shining bright. So low, I know you feel so lonely in the undertow. How I can see the pain of your day when you say you cannot wait to lift the weight off your shoulders. You cannot wait to live the life of your dreams. But life has other plans, and every day we have to fight to feel the happiness for once. We let it go. I know it avalanches into pits of sorrow. You know I sense your darkness when you feel low. How I can feel the stress of this mess through your eyes. I cannot wait to lift the weight off your shoulders. I know you'll feel the brightness of day very soon. Sorrow, how I can feel the moonlight when you sigh low. How I can feel the blues of the world in your eyes. I cannot wait to lift the weight off your shoulders. I cannot wait to see your smile shining bright. So low, I know you feel so lonely in the undertow. How I can feel the pain of your day when you say you cannot wait to lift the weight off your shoulders. You cannot wait to live the life of your dreams. But life has other plans, and every day we have to fight to feel the happiness for once. We let it go. I know it avalanches into pits of sorrow. You know I sense your darkness when you feel low. How I can feel the stress of this mess through your eyes. I cannot wait to lift the weight off your shoulders. I know you'll feel the brightness of day very soon.
Hi, I'm Errol Nazareth. I'm the host of CBC Radio's Big City, Small World, a show that regularly shows love to local musicians in Toronto. And one band whose record floored me the first time I heard it was a record by Jenna Marie Pinard and J.U. It's called Here Now. Beautiful jazz record. And one of the songs that completely jumped out at me and actually shouted to me, "You have to play me on the radio," is a song called Polaroid. It's so good to actually link up with Jay and Jenna and creep into their heads and find out about their creative process. Jay, tell me about the song Polaroid.
Hey, Errol. So, Polaroid is a song that I wrote about Toronto, actually. I've been living in Toronto for about 10 years now, but only recently, like a couple of years ago, was my first time staying here for the whole year throughout like the whole 4 seasons. And then after experiencing that, I felt like I wanted to write a song about it, and I did.
And
So
what did you want to get through in the song? Because what jumped out at me was, I mean, she's got a brilliant voice.
right,
Jenna's got a great voice.
yeah,
And your guitar lines just so like really this really kind of liquidy guitar lines.
right.
Um, it was a nice song. It didn't shout summer to me. It didn't shout winter. It was just like this beautiful song.
Yeah.
What did you want to convey through the music?
So at the time when I was writing the song, I was kind of into the instant, like those Instax Polaroid cameras, and then I was enjoying taking pictures of it. And then I thought that I wanted to write a tune that would kind of, I just imagined myself in that frame picture, and like I'm riding a bike, and as I'm riding the bike, the background is changing, like the seasons are changing, and then I wanted to capture that moment or that imagination, and then just played it on my guitar.
Is there a favorite line from the song?
Uh,
I'm putting you on the spot.
right. Actually, I can't. I don't have the lyrics memorized. I actually had to give the song to Jenna and tell her the story, and then I gave her perfect freedom to write the lyrics by herself, and then yeah, we put it together afterwards.
And then when she came back with the lyrics, like, were you just going like, wow?
Yeah, it was beautiful words. I mean, everything she writes is beautiful. So, and I think she really captured that that essence of some like hopefulness, some nostalgia of the song. That yeah, she captured that essence, I think, in the lyrics.
And did you justice?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks so much, Jay.
All right. Thank you.
When it's time to rest, my darling, coming close to me, and in the lights, hold me gently. Now let's go to sleep. Don't lose hope. There's a path leading us to better days ahead. Don't lose sight. We still have all night to fall in love again. happens now? Now that all has fallen, like the leaves of autumn, and the crowd has all gone home. Where does it come from? This darkness that surrounds me, as the branches sway, green eyes turn to gray. The morning sunrise awakening, my trembling hands cannot hold on to you, my sweet happiness, my dear. Who have I become? The last of all my days, as the light now fades, green eyes turn to gray. What happens now? trembling hands cannot hold on to you, my sweet happiness, oh dear love, who have I become? The last of all my days, as the light now fades, green eyes turn to gray.
Jenna,
Errol,
good to finally meet you.
so good to meet you. Thank you for having us.
I will always have a space for you on my show. You told me that the record was inspired by extended technique and improvisation. Can you break that down in layman's terms for people who don't know anything about music?
Definitely. So, in the jazz world, we have a couple of terms that we use, as I'm sure you know and the viewers know. We have straight ahead, which is what you would figure is what it sounds like, you know, what you hear on the radio and oftentimes with or without voice. And there's this whole other world of extended technique and free jazz and improvisation where we use different techniques to go even further than what traditionally you would hear an instrument or a vocalist do. So when I first moved to Toronto and I went to the University of Toronto to study jazz, I was introduced to an entire new world of jazz that I had never known before, ever. Never even listened to free jazz in my life, to be totally honest with you, or improvised music. And my first class of vocal jazz ensemble with the mighty Christine Duncan was quite the surprise when the moment we were all standing in a circle and she said, okay, so now I want everyone to make earth sounds.
Wow.
And I was looking around like, is this code? I don't understand.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she just goes, and go. And the people who were, you know, older than me start making these grumbling sounds and these, you know, earth tone sounds. And she says, now sound like fire. And you hear these, yeah, exactly. And water sounds and fire sounds and all of these different sounds. And my mind was blown. Like, what is happening? Why are they doing this? And instantly I was intrigued. And from there, I met an array of people who inspired me to just dig a little bit deeper and try things a little bit differently. And it turns out that it's stuck and we love it. So Jay has a lot of pedals that he uses and guitar techniques that I don't understand personally. But me, sometimes I'll make, you know, growly sounds with my voice or really high-pitched whistle tones, air sounds, etc. And obviously Ornette Coleman, you know, is the kind of grandparent of free jazz specifically. But after him came an array of musicians that really inspired people that I know today that do that in the scene. And the Toronto scene is pretty special for that.
The experimentation you talked about on the record, it's so evident. It's also like, makes it different from, I mean, you have the stereotype of like a woman jazz singer and a guy on a guitar, and then immediately, you know, you're thinking like, this is going to sound like some smooth jazz, dinner time jazz, but it's not that at all. It really challenges the listener. You know, as beautiful as it to listen to, it challenges the listener, right?
Thank you. We set out with the goal of finding a happy medium between what we like to do, which at times can be very experimental and really out, as we say, and balance that with, you know, something more approachable and a little bit easier to listen to for the listener. So we have some tracks that are pretty, you know, they are creative, but they're still straight ahead where, you know, maybe more friendly to somebody who doesn't even listen to jazz at all. But then we have a couple in there that we enjoyed using our loop pedals and our pedals and, you know,
why not?
weird
Just
sounds and
take off into the atmosphere or the stratosphere, if you will.
And that was the goal, is that the listener could be listening and takes off in the imagination as to where they are and what they're feeling with their eyes closed.
I think the balance is important. And you also talked about, well, you didn't talk about this, but I know there's some really cool arrangements of standards, because I can't even begin to tell you how many jazz records I've come across in the past few years, just so full of standards. And at some point, you just like stop with the standards. And what do you think you guys bring to interpretations of standards by Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong? And, you know,
Well, there's almost something to be said for keeping things, as they should be, based on the history. It's, jazz, as we all know, has such a deep, rich history. And of course, it's Black music. And I think that you have to kind of find that sweet point where you're respecting the history of the music and, what people had to go through and what people were sacrificing and the oppression that was happening, obviously even today, where jazz is just so deep. And so I never want to tear something apart, because we have to respect, the original composer's vision, and, in my opinion, and the people who brought it to this point that I even know what arranging is and what, creativity is with jazz. But Jay is really the master arranger in this album, to be totally honest with you. He really came up with some ideas, and he was like, what do you think about this, groove instead? And what do you think about this time signature? And we would open up the middle, where usually, traditionally you would solo or improvise over the chord changes. But in our instance, sometimes we just completely opened it up and lost the chord changes and just followed each other and saw where it would lead. And then Jay has this, mastery where he can bring us back to where we need to be in order for me to sing the rest of the song.
it's an amazing creative process. You guys have some serious chemistry in the studio.
I absolutely love playing with Jay, and he's in every project that I have. Every single one.
Yeah, when I hadn't, I feel bad to say I hadn't heard of him before your record came out, and I was like, those guitar lines, this has to be, I have to share this with people. I wanted to close with something, and this question has taken on, I guess, new meaning or new perspective since the pandemic hit, which is like, how do you, since you left U of T and, Jay, wherever he was studying.
U of T as well, yeah.
As U of T as well. How do you navigate the scene and survive and create opportunities, especially in jazz?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? How challenging is it?
I think that obviously right now, this question, the answer is complex now with what's happening in the world and what's going on. So everything's on pause for the moment, obviously, but I think that there's a lot of hope, in my opinion. And nobody is going to give you an opportunity. Nobody is going to do the work for you. You have to put in the hours. You have to put in the work. And if you can do that, and this is the message that I really want to send to young musicians, there is a lot of opportunity.
Oh, yeah?
In this city specifically, and in so many other cities across Canada. I think there's a lot of space to create and to make money off of playing music. Obviously, I'm not so sure what's going to happen in the next little while, but even now, this is a time, in my opinion, if you can and if you're well, to, as we say, hit the shed and practice and study. And so many musicians feel like we don't have enough time to really dig into the craft. Whether you're in school or post-graduation or you never went to school, that's not necessary to be a part of that institution. But if anything, maybe this is the perfect time to kind of readjust and polish things so that when everything is lifted, and I'm hopeful that, we will see a brighter day, you're ready. And you have to do that work. You have to make the calls. You have to make the emails. I've emailed hundreds and hundreds of people and venues to try and get my name out there. And, at the moment, I think it would be fair to say that I don't really have a name yet, but it's slowly coming.
You emailed me out of the blue.
I did.
Yes, I'm glad you did too.
I'm
That's
glad
such-
you read it.
That's such an interesting perspective, and I appreciate the optimism, especially in a time like now. Um, but you know what? What's heartbreaking is like I know some musicians who've just lost. They say they've lost like inspiration to create, and I'm like, oh, like I feel for them, you know. But on the other side, there are musicians who are like going like I've never feel this inspired. So this is such an interesting time.
I think I would say that for people who are losing inspiration in this time, in this, these challenging times, and I've been there before many times in my life. I'm a survivor of pretty severe mental illness, and even, COVID-19 or not, I've had moments in my life where maybe I don't want to create anymore or ever again, or I just
Wow.
I don't feel inspired.
Mm.
And everything feels dark. And in the tune that we performed, Green Eyes, that's what that's about, just feeling like there's nothing left to work for, especially as a musician when there's already so many hurdles. It's already so hard when everything's going great in the world in general, and now with all of this happening, I can understand why somebody would lose that spark to create. And I have to tell you that I was talking to one of my friends. His name is Anthony D'Alessandro. He's an incredible piano player, jazz piano player, who I met at U of T.
Mm.
And he himself reignited my desire to create literally just a few weeks ago when he was on the phone and he was like, this is the time. This is the time for you to create and to work on what you're doing in your craft. And his energy and his light, despite losing every single gig we've had planned, I had performances planned for the entire summer. I was looking forward to it being the best summer of my life in terms of career and opportunities all across Canada. I was very excited, and everything has been canceled. But maybe I need to, do my best to turn that into something creative.
Yeah.
Use it as an outlet. I'm not sure.
Glad we connected. Keep singing, keep playing. And like I said to Jay, there's always room on my show for you guys.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks for having us.
Take care now.